One of my favorite games for this weekend, CD, is LSU traveling to Williams-Brice. No South Carolina State Fair going on just yet. That's next month. But holy cow, is Williams-Brice going to be bumping after what those fans saw last week? Alabama, or sorry, what looked like an Alabama defensive line just murdering Kentucky. And now this is a trench battle because LSU has a very good offensive line of their own. However,
Yep.
here's my concern about that offensive line. They haven't really been able to run the ball effectively without Jane Daniels.
And John Emery too.
And now John Emery's out, and I like Josh Williams and I like Caden Durham, and they have talent there, but they didn't really look good running the ball against Nicholls State, per my sources, per Woj. So I'm a little bit concerned about LSU going to be able to run the ball, and then when all of a sudden they're one dimensional and South Carolina can just pin their ears back and just get after Nussmeier, there's a lot more elite talent in the receiver group at LSU than I think people think. And the South Carolina secondary is really the only thing that going into the season I was concerned about this defense. So it's going to get tested. So I think matchup wise, it's just so interesting here. And then LSU defensively, like, look, they haven't looked awesome. I mean, they looked improved, right? USC didn't blow them out, although Nicholls State had some explosive plays here or there. South Carolina's offense hasn't looked that impressive either, but up the middle, look, Nicholls State gashed them up the middle running the ball. USC didn't really try to run the ball all that much, but they probably could have up the middle there now that LSU's missing, Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo. Not that either of those guys were elite run stoppers, but um, it's just really, really interesting. I think South Carolina's going to try to run the ball. I think they're going to try to run the ball with Lenore Sellers. I think they'll try to run the ball a little bit with Robbie Ashford, get his packages in there as well. I just South Carolina offensive line still worries me. The receiver group that hasn't really stepped up is starting to worry me, even though I thought it was a really talented group heading into the season. So these are all the angles that I'm looking at for this game, and it's kind of tough. And LSU is only a touchdown favorite on the road here.
Yeah, you hit it on the nail. The matchups are going to be awesome. Similar, right, to Texas and Michigan last week with Michigan's defensive line and Texas's big, beefy, physical offensive line. You're exactly right here. I think what South Carolina did rushing the pass the past couple weeks has been incredible, right? And to have the offensive line, especially the bookend tackles that are talented as first round picks as they are, it's going to be really exciting. And especially on the road, especially, kind of Garrett Nussmeier's first big road environment that he's been in. And obviously, I'll credit Vegas. Vegas was pretty loud, for the other USC, Southern Cal. Their fans are pretty rowdy there, but this will be obviously significantly harder than that. And we know how tough it can be to play at Williams-Brice Stadium at times. Obviously, as Clemson, as some other teams, especially in the SEC. But I don't know. I like LSU in this matchup. I think it fell in their touchdown, and I'm gonna scoop it up. And it might be a hint to our best bets later on, but I feel like that's pretty good value because I don't know if South Carolina can play catch up at all. Like I trust Garrett Nussmeier actually to go in there and to play pretty well. He's going to get the ball on time efficiently. I think unlike, and I like Kentucky's weapons, I really do, but they just lacked, any chance to block, to do anything offensively. And the turnovers and different bounces of balls. It was kind of a weird game, especially early, and it kind of led to a snowball effect in that second half. I think LSU comes out and they play well. I think their defense, is I was impressed, right, against a really good USC team, especially really good USC offense, where they had some receivers make some really good plays and it helped them extend plays, extend drives in that football game. And they were really close to winning that game. And I think if they win that football game, I think it's a totally different outlook we have on LSU and what they can do. I was pleasantly surprised. I was not expecting to see this happen for LSU, but I almost feel like I'm higher on them than the public is, which is typically not where I've been the past couple of years. So yeah, I'm gonna go LSU here. I think there's value in that seven. Obviously, I'll take them to win and the 7 points there, but it'll be super, super interesting. Really, really interesting. How does that defensive line in that front seven gear up and stop the run? The thing is, that secondary for LSU, I don't think is that great. I really don't. Now, I think they're better than last year. I think they're flying around and more physical than they were last year. But again, I don't know if South Carolina could take advantage of it consistently. I liked I was actually impressed with Sellers last week. I thought he made some big time throws. I would see some throws that had you scratching your head, but that's going to happen with a young quarterback, young talented quarterback. They still haven't really gotten Raheem Sanders going yet. And is that about his health or is that about, just the lack of offensive line, dominance or improvement that we thought we were going to see this year? So it will be interesting.
Well, I
I
think
just
the
think,
offensive line looks a lot better. I think it looks a lot
yes.
better.
Well, I mean, last year was just atrocious. But in terms of like Raheem Sanders, like historically, his career has been one of the best running backs in the SEC, and I haven't quite seen that burst. Haven't quite seen that, typical Rocket Sanders that we're used to, pre-injury. But I don't know. I think LSU just can kind of outscore at South Carolina, and once they get a little bit ahead, I think it could, you know, not turn into a blowout. But I think it's going to be really hard for South Carolina to chase points.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm going to take LSU to win, LSU to cover, but I don't feel great about it. I mean, I think if South Carolina is going to win and cover, it's going to be because they slow the game down, they make LSU one dimensional, and South Carolina is able to run the ball. And I think that's it's a lot of ifs that need to go right for South Carolina to be in this game. And I think if any of those things don't happen, then I think that's the situation where LSU covers and wins. So I'm going to take LSU to win and LSU to cover because I think there's just more things that LSU can do offensively, like you said. We still haven't seen the South Carolina secondary get tested. And like you said, we might be getting a discount here, right? South Carolina could end up just being good, and we see Lenore Sellers continue to improve over the season. And maybe the secondary is good because they do have some pieces there. Just maybe we haven't seen them all together, right? And you lost some nice pieces from last year, but I think it's more likely that LSU covers in this situation. But South Carolina wins. They look really good, and Lenore Sellers looks good. So watch out. That's all I'll say.
Real quick here, I want to ask you two things. First of all, if this is a close game in the fourth quarter, right? Obviously, South Carolina has home field advantage and a defensive line that you really, really like. But do you trust them to be able to close out LSU or not necessarily, or be able to, to go ahead and score, drive down, kick a field goal, whatever it may be? That's where I keep coming back to. It's like I'm just trying to figure out how South Carolina wins, and I think they almost have to do a similar recipe that they did to Kentucky, where they just, kind of just buried them, and the game kind of got out of hand. The game script got out of hand, so they couldn't continue to run the football. And they could kind of just pin their ears back and just prey on Brock Vandegrift and poor Gav Wimsatt. That's my fear. Is like if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, I just trust Nussmeier and that offensive line, endless playmakers to be able to make plays for LSU. And then secondly, too, the coaching staff matchup. That's something I think, Brian Kelly, obviously, maybe not the most impressive tenure in the SEC West, but again, obviously, a pretty veteran head coach there and Danton Lynn. What kind of coaching staffs do you feel here? Is there an edge either way? What are your thoughts on those two?
Sorry, say that again.
So in the fourth quarter, do you feel like South Carolina can win the football game if it's a fourth quarter football game?
I like LSU's coaching staff in the fourth quarter over South Carolina's coaching staff.
And their players too? What about like
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
guess
mean, like
quarterbacks
if you
and
need a big time play, right? Because like in the fourth quarter, you're going down to win the game. Who's that guy on South Carolina that's going to make the play? I think it's Jared Brown. I don't know yet, right? I don't know yet.
what and how is Sellers like a drop back pass, like no play action or no threat of the run? Obviously he can make plays, extend plays on his own, but in terms of just, taking 4 or 5 step drops, can he go back and just drive his football team down the field? I don't know yet. But yet is the key word. And at home, who knows? Um, But again, it'll be interesting. I think that crowd will be awesome. College game day is there. A lot of buzz around South Carolina, deservingly so. And definitely one 11 a.m. I'll be absolutely watching.